We have the potential and the opportunity to go through the most democratic process of suffrage, the ability to vote, and we've seen the outcome in this past election. But this right to vote and backed by law is only about 40-some years old. And you don't think this has a relationship to what's going on in our community today? So I invite you to sort of consider your conscious IQ. The second thing I'd like you to consider is this: that the world is so much more than your block. The world is so much more than your neighborhood, than your barrio, than your zip code. This world is so much more than Phoenix, than Glendale, than Maricopa, Peoria, Tempe. It's bigger than Arizona. Arizona has 6 million people in the world, but that's not it. America has 300 million people in the world, but that's not it. There are 7 billion people in the world. And sometimes we tend to think that based upon where I live and what I've been exposed to, that this is the totality, this is the only thing, this is the only way to be. And we can only see about 2 miles out. If you can't find inspiration in your zip code, look to the world. And you will see that what we believe to be absolute truth and priority is so vastly different than what other people are doing. Theirs is not better than ours. Ours is not better than them. It's just different. And it gives us the power to realize that which I am today is not set in stone, because the world is profound and I'm going to get it on because the world is big. You understand this concept? The world is bigger than Christianity. It's bigger than Islam. It's bigger than Hindu. It's bigger than Baha'i. You see, when we get locked into these absolute beliefs, if I'm so convicted in my belief and you disagree with me, I might talk to you for a minute, but if I don't like what you're saying, I might just put a clip in you. You understand this? If we don't realize that I'm not the center of the world and that there might be other people in the world who have a right to exist, I might go through the humble process of learning and understanding, quite possibly disagreeing, but wish you well for eternity as you go about your beliefs. But if I'm so Zionistically grounded, I become obsessed with you. Why don't you believe like I believe? To the point where I'm so frustrated that I will mobilize military power to take you out. The world is so much bigger than 7th Street and Baseline where I reside. I'm getting close to my time. I apologize, brothers. I'm going to skip towards my end. This is macro talk. Dr. Westenberg, we all right? Brothers, y'all all right? This is macro talk. I got to bring it down. You know, there's a saying in speaker circles, you know, man, that dude sure did speak this morning. He did? What'd he say? I don't know what he said, but he sure did speak, right? So I don't want you to walk away saying he was hitting the table, and I want you to take something, right? Take something. Let me go from macro to micro, right? How do we understand how we ought to act and interface and behave in a given moment, right? Well, let me offer this particular concept. Who we are is determined by where or who we're around, okay? That's simple. So, for example, we have to realize that while the world is bigger, we're also bigger than a singular identity. So I stand behind you as the guest lecturer at the Minority Male Success Conference, and I'm in presenter mode. I have a badge that says it, right? But as I'm talking to you, I also got other things in me. I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a nephew, I'm a godfather. I'm a social being. I like chicken wings, like to play chess, like to play hoop, right? All that is going on inside of me right now. But the question is which one of me ought to be front and center at a given moment? How do we figure it out? So when I leave today and I drive back to South Phoenix and I go home, I drive to the place in an ASU capacity, but as soon as I open up the door, and here comes Chantal Mariage Teray Jones, here comes Avery Benjamin Teray Jones, here comes Emil Joshua Teray Jones, here comes Ahmad Malik Teray Jones, here comes Elias Timothy Teray Jones, and when my 5-year-old little troop comes walking out, Aaliyah Rochelle Jones, what identity do they bring out of me? Father. It is people and or places that helps us understand who we ought to be in a given moment. After I get done greeting the beautiful seeds, and out comes from the corner Miss Jones. And you know Miss Jones is beautiful. We got 6, right? What identity does Miss Jones bring out of me? It is people or places that helps us understand which one of us ought to be front and center at a given moment. We decided to go to Las Vegas, Nevada to visit my old man. We drive in the quintessential representation of family, the minivan, right? We get to his house. I'm in full father and husband mode. But as soon as I touch the door handle of my father's house and cross the threshold, I enter in as what? Son. It is people or places that helps us understand who we are. It's when we get this wrong that problem gets created. You see, because as I move towards my close, there's a particular place that is so imperative to the warrior class because it is the training ground for a future you. And that place is called the informal and formal learning environment, AKA, i.e., the classroom. And the classroom has a corresponding identity. In the classroom, you are student. And if you can simply understand that anytime I'm in an academic expectation that I come to the table as student, what ends up happening so often is that we also have a social self that's perfectly fine hanging out in between class, hanging out after school, on the phone, on Facebook, on MySpace, on two-way with your friend. A social being that's casual, that's really not thinking about much. That's a perfectly fine orientation in social spaces. But too often, social wants to be boss. Social wants to lead the parade. Social wants to be the general. And social has this magical way of showing up where student ought to be the boss.